Oh my gosh, I have been muted this whole time. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I think that's what my assistant's calling me to tell me. Okay, flub, flub, flub. This is live TV. It happens. Hey everyone, I'm Diane Forster and welcome to I Have Today. I'm going to start all over. This is where we inspire, empower, and educate you through life's transitions. And we talk about the art of intentional living. And I am thrilled and honored to have my guest, Sandra Yancey, joining me in the studio in just a few minutes today. She is the founder of the eWomenNetwork, and she's built a multi-million-dollar empire with over 500,000 members in 118 chapters across the globe. Truly a remarkable woman with an incredible story, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But our theme for this week is 1 million women are generating $1 million with Sandra Yancey. That is what Sandra is doing. This is her mission. And as a member of eWomen, I've been a member for 6-7 years now. I've seen women doing this. It is extraordinary. So this is what she's committed to of the many things that she does, which I will share all the details in just a few minutes. She's committed to empowering women to be generating $1 million or more a year. So we'll have more with Sandra and her story in just a few minutes. Now, if you're here for the first time, I want to say welcome to I Have Today. It is a pleasure to have you. And if you've been here before, I want to say welcome back. Now, where you can find us? Well, we're streaming live right now on E360 TV. We're also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And so if you go to I Have Today with Diane Forster on YouTube and Facebook, that's where you can find me, or Diane Forster Official on Twitter and LinkedIn. Now, maybe you prefer listening to podcasts. You can also catch this show on all the streaming podcast platforms called I Have Today with Diane Forster. So, all right. So what we do every single week is we start out with an intention statement. And our intention statement this week is I have today to surround myself with incredibly successful women. I have today to surround myself with incredibly successful women. That's right, because you've heard this before. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And a rising tide lifts all boats. You are a direct reflection of who you're hanging around with. And don't be the smartest person in the room. Be a student of life. Be open to being around people that actually make you feel a little uncomfortable. In fact, I'm going to a networking event tomorrow, and I know I'm going to feel uncomfortable there. I'm going to be inspired and empowered, but I'm going to learn so much. And so you want to surround yourself with incredibly successful women, because here's the thing about incredibly successful women and the community that Sandra has created. Everybody lifts each other up. Everybody is there to be supportive, and everybody comes from a place of giving, because that's the culture that she created. That's what she embodies, and that's what you get there, which is why it is one of the top networking communities for women in the United States, because of its accelerated networking. We could talk more about that when Sandra's here. So you have today to surround yourself with incredibly successful people. All right. So what we do with our intention statements is my awesome team makes a beautiful graphic every single week with the intention statement. And you can find it. There it is right now. It's already on my Instagram page at Diane Forster Official. If you go there and you go to my profile, you'll see a little button called intention statements. And you could go there, take it, take a screenshot of it so that you're looking at this every time you look at your phone, which is over 1,000 times a week. Yes, it is. Well, how do we create change in the subconscious mind? Through repetition. So this is your reminder for the whole week to integrate that into your subconscious so it becomes a part of you and your belief, and you start manifesting it. How cool is that? All right, well, we're getting ready to bring Sandra on, but before we do that, let's hear a word from our sponsor, The Spifter. This week's episode of I Have Today is brought to you by The Spifter. The Spifter is a fun sifting spoon that makes cooking, baking, and decorating with sugars and spices so much fun. No more mess or wasting your spices. It's fast, clean, and easy. Everything looks and tastes delicious. It's also great for straining loose tea, getting pesky broken cork out of your wine glass, and draining liquid off food like olives and capers. Whether you're a novice cook or a gourmet chef, you'll love the results. The Spifter, the kitchen gadget that no kitchen should be without. All right. Well, I wouldn't be doing Sandra justice if I didn't tell you a little bit about her before she comes on. And Sandra Yancey is an internationally acclaimed, award-winning entrepreneur, founder, and CEO of eWomenNetwork, 5-time best-selling author, life and business transformation expert for the Emmy Award-winning TV show The Doctors, producer of the critically acclaimed movie titled The Glow Project, and Philanthropist. All right. Well, I'm going to bring her on in just a second, but first watch this.
I want us to be fulfilled. I want us to be happy. We have been taught and trained that you can't have it all, and I'm here to tell you that you can.
We've got to learn, ladies, that whole crap around multitasking, like we wear it like it's a badge of honor. Like, forget that. Forget that. Those are not traits of the super successful. Super successful people are laser focused. I want to know, what are the major milestones that you need to hit every 2 weeks? All right? And then what are some of the actions that you're going to take every day to make sure that you do it? You're scared to step into your full magnificence because you're afraid of what you might have to give up. And that is stinking thinking. You're spending valuable time, income generating, money making time with people who are attaching to you like a weight.
This is all self-imposed guilt, and your future doesn't deserve the punishment.
Just like I've learned for myself, your purpose, your message, your voice, and your business is bigger than you can possibly imagine in this moment.
Well, hello, Sandra. I don't know what's going on, but I'm having tech issues with the muting today. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
And I can hear you, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Oh my gosh. It's crazy, crazy. Well, I'm so honored and privileged to have you here with me today and here with our audience that I have today. Really,
I feel the same. Yes, I feel the same.
Yeah. Did you hear my bio intro of you?
I did. I heard everything. I heard the video. I heard everything.
All right, good. Good. Let's hope the audience did. All right. Well, Sandra, I mean, the found 500,000 women and counting, 118 chapters, over 1,500 events a year. Really, really incredible. And I can speak as, you know, a member of eWomen personally, what it's done for me. I don't know that I know I've never shared this story with you, but when I first moved to San Diego and I reinvented my life back in 2015, it was the fall of 2015. And one of the Orange County members invited me to a luncheon. Wendy Darling, she invited me to.
Oh, yeah.
And I was blown away at, first of all, the number of women that were there and the collaborations, the format of it, and just so many. I felt so comfortable because here I was completely walked away from corporate. Now I'm entering this entrepreneurial journey. And I didn't know anyone in San Diego. I didn't. I picked it for, and I just felt like I was home. And it has been incredible for me personally and certainly for professionally. I've been able to help so many women and work with so many women and vice versa. It's really, it's really special. Yeah.
That's the first step of networking in so many ways. I think people think of networking as what am I going to get? But I think the misnomer, the misunderstanding is that networking first starts with giving.
Yeah.
And it is the givers who ultimately get, right? I mean, the more you put out in the universe to help others, the more the universe conspires to help you.
So true. It's so true. Right. If you're chasing a dog, the dog's gonna run, right? But stop
No
chasing
question.
it,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
for
All
sure.
right. Well, so give us a little background story on the your story. How did you come up with the idea for eWomen? And I want to talk your personal stuff too, but I want to go right
Yeah,
here because
sure,
yeah,
sure. So, I had moved to Dallas. I had been born and raised in a small southwestern farm town called Dayton, Ohio. I moved to Dallas in 1996, and we built our home. And I had little kids at the time. My son just turning 1. My daughter was about 5, and maybe 5.5, and was just getting ready to start kindergarten. And I was getting all of that together. I had had my own consulting business for 7 years prior to moving to Dallas. Was actually quite excited, Diane, about moving to Dallas and having the hub of American Airlines. You know, getting my clients were Coca-Cola and Levi Strauss and John Deere and AT&T and T and the Wall Street Journal, and the list goes on. I had a very sexy portfolio of clients, but I was living out of an airplane when I lived in Ohio, and I just thought that it would be so much better when I came here. And in fact, I remember thinking, I don't even have to get on a plane again. I mean, it's world headquarters here in Dallas for Texas Instruments, and there was J.C. Penney's world headquarters, and the list goes on and on. Just lots of Ross Perot had his big EDS complex. I thought to myself, man, I could just build my career here and be home every evening with my little ones, right?
yeah,
And so I started networking, and I just found it really hard to break in. I mean, I found that they were very segmented. There was kind of the boys networking clubs and the girls networking clubs, right?
right.
And I found that the guys were incredibly nice, just very, very welcoming. But I learned the difference between being welcome somewhere and actually being invited, on the field.
Yeah,
And I wasn't really being invited to play. People weren't sharing contacts, resources, or asking me to collaborate. I went to women's groups at the time, to be honest with you, Diane, and I found them to be quite social in nature, which isn't a bad thing. But I was just trying to find where are the women that if they're going to be away from their children like I was for 8 hours, I wanted to have something to go home to show for it. You know what I mean?
yes.
I mean, I could be away from my kids for 8 hours and make 100,000, or I could be away from my kids for 8 hours and make 1 million, calendar
Mm,
year. And so I just wanted to have a lot to show for the time and effort that I was putting not only into my business, but also being away from my family. And I couldn't find it. And so it's actually my husband gets full credit to say, well, why don't you start it, Sandra? Why don't you start out with the intention, and the people that share your same values and intention will be attracted to you. And that was really the start of eWomenNetwork.
wow. What a great
No,
story. What a great
yeah,
story.
and that was 23 years ago. I mean, 2000 is when I officially opened my doors. It's crazy. It's crazy to me to
Yeah.
think that it's been almost a quarter of a century that I've been running this business, and I've been through so many challenges. I mean, COVID is just another get on the list of the other pandemic, so to speak, that I've had to go through. But honestly, about every 4 or 5 years or so, there's been something huge that has caused me to have to reevaluate everything that I'm doing, my entire business model, how I show up, how I articulate, how I brand, how I speak to my prospects and my customers to continue to survive. So I feel like after 23 years, I've earned the stripes. Maybe they're scars. I choose to think of them as stripes
Yes.
to speak to kind of what it takes to navigate uh, being a CEO of a multi-million dollar global business that's filled with ups and downs that haven't really been, issues of my own that I brought. I mean, I've had my fair share of those too, but things that I've just had to deal with in the universe, and adapt to them in order to continue to not just thriving isn't what it's about for me. I mean, it's not just about sustainability. It's about continuing to scale, right?
Yes.
Because no business can really do well over time without constantly getting better.
It's true. It's innovation is the name of the game. You've got to be able to innovate into the changing times. And I think that is indicative in what you're saying, like every 4 or 5 years, you're starting to really see trends of something's going to happen.
Right.
And to know that and to be able to not give up, right? And just look at it from a new perspective. All right, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's do like ground zero, new approach, and take a look at it that way, which takes a lot of grit and a lot of commitment and tenacity, which you certainly have. And so what advice do you have for, and you know, we're not excluding men in any way, but women entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
what advice do you have for her to be able to ride out those storms?
It's pretty simple, and to be just put it brass tacks, it's just that I've never died from what I've tried. I mean, it's really that simple.
That.
I mean, I think fear causes so much people to freeze. And the interesting thing is, if you don't take risks, you fail by default, because you're never going to be able, if by the time you've got it all figured out, I think the chances are that you've waited too late. You know what I mean? That you know, the business shifts so quickly. You know, when I started eWomenNetwork, I was working on my business plan in 1999, launched in 2000. I wanted it to be completely online. Think of a kind of Facebook profiling for women business owners. And that's why it was called E for electronic, like email, right? All electronic networking. I did a whole bunch of focus groups. Women were saying, you know, I don't need another meeting to go to. So I was trying to think, you know, what is it that I could do that would be different. And so, I mean, Diane, these are back in the days when I was building everybody's profile. First of all, we were all on startup. There was no such thing as rich text. It was only plain text, right? People were snail mailing me their photos. I was driving to Kinko's, having them scan the photos, and they gave me a disc. I'd come back, upload it into my computer, and I was personally typing everybody's profile, right? And then people would say, but I need my photo back. And so I'd be mailing the photos back to them. It was a very different time. And I was willing to do it, except that we had the internet bust. Remember the internet crash around 2002? And I had to totally rethink and rebrand. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to scale. I got a radio show on ABC, and it reached into Canada, and somebody heard about us in Canada and wanted to open a chapter in Canada. I thought, well, if I'm going to open one chapter in Toronto, I might as well do the whole country. And I took a credit card. It was completely maxed out on my credit cards. And I went, you know how you get those notifications in the mail of you qualify for a free credit card, you know? Yes. And so I opened it up, and I took that credit card, and I opened up all these meetings in hotels all across Canada. I was going to start in Toronto and in Vancouver. And then SARS hit. And SARS, somebody told me it's like a relationship. It's a first cousin to COVID, actually. And they were like, you can't, you know, you can't come here. And I was like, well, can you give me my money back? And they were like, oh, no, we're not going to give you your money back. We're going to move you to a future date. And I was like, but I got to start making payments. I was going to come open up chapters, start cash flowing the business, and pay my credit card off with opening up the chapters. And that didn't happen. I had to retool. And then we get to 2007, 2008. We have the market crash, the housing collapse, right? I saw millions of dollars of corporate sponsorships, poof, just evaporate right before my eyes. Okay, I got to retool, reevaluate. And then we've got COVID, and of course we've survived that. And I'm a 100% live event business at the time, so everything that I had done for 20 years crashed, and I had to reinvent. And then now we've got people talking about the economy. Like, this is nothing. This feels like a low-grade fever compared to what I've been through. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, and so I think it's important for business owners to know that, you know, it just seems like every 4 or 5 years there's something. And so you use the word grit, Diane. I love that. I mean, it takes some grit to say, I'm going to lean in versus lean out. Yes. Right? Because when you lean back and you lean out, you have set yourself so far back, right? Because you've got other people leaning in, looking at the ways to capitalize on it. And the truth of the matter is, it isn't the best of the best who really become the best. It's the best who have the right language, speak the right message to their prospects, understand how to integrate that into your branding and marketing so that people feel seen and heard. They know that you get them, you understand what they're thinking and feeling, and you have the perfect solution for them. It's a repositioning of the same thing, but you have to speak to them differently.
Yes. That's so powerful, Sandra. Yeah, and why I don't know how you feel about this. This is my opinion. It's not based on research or facts.
Right.
It's my belief. Why do men have an easier time cutting deals, making stuff happen than women
Well,
do?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, I mean, let's just talk about nature versus nurture. I do think that women are have an added safety gene. You know what I mean, Diane? It's like I remember when I had my daughter 33 years ago, and when she's first learning to walk, and when she would fall, I would go like that, and I remember my husband saying, "Sandra, will you stop that? Because you're scared and you're scaring her.
Yeah.
She's hearing you, looking at you. The minute she sees your face, she cries. When you decide to shift that energy and go, oops, 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 you just bumped, you just hit a bump, time to get up, let's go again. And you reframe it, reposition, all your energy goes behind the words. She now learns that's part of the process. And the truth of the matter is, I do think that we have learned in Western culture that the opposite of success is failure, when the truth of the matter is they're both on the same side. It's just that failure or success is a little bit farther down, and failure is just comes from time to time. I've learned to trust that that's the universe really saying to me, "Hey, Sandra, you're moving a little fast. You need to hit the pause button here. I need to get your attention. There's a real lesson you need to learn in this. There's some wisdom you need to gain from this, because chances are you're going to see this again down the road, only the stakes are going to be higher. And now you're going to have the benefit of knowing, ooh, I've been here before. Now I know what to do better, faster, quicker, and I get on with it," right? So there's the nature versus nurture part of it. I
Yeah.
also think that there's a whole element of women that, sometimes think that they can ride things out. I think we've learned that if we just, take a deep breath and be patient, we can ride it out. But, when you're in business, you're riding the wave,
Yeah.
and if you just ride a wave out, guess what's going to happen? It's going to
It's coming
crash.
back.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's going to crash. And so you got to learn how to stay on the wave, jump the waves, move around, turn around. I mean, if you've ever watched a surfer, the really good ones, I mean, they're not just staying on one track, they're moving with it. They're sensing, they're looking around, they're feeling, right? They've got the skills, the tools, the skills that they know in order to stay on that board the longest, right? And
Yes.
success is a lot like that. And sometimes waves do crash. And then you got to know, you know what? Maybe it's not about getting on the surfboards. I often look at ironing boards and say, these are surfboards that crashed, right? And just forgot to, retool a little bit. Sometimes from there, you got to jump onto the mountain. But, the mountain climbing is a whole other set of skills and tools and mindset. And, the terrain is different. The oxygen is different. And it can be just as exhilarating, but not if you're holding on to the skills it took to ride the wave. Now you got to climb the mountain, right?
Yes.
And so I think that agility that it takes, and Harvard has done a big study about this, that really future CEOs, unlike ever before, need to master the skill of agility,
Yeah.
even more so than many of the other hard skills that they've had to master before that they can now hire out, right? But it takes you being agile to notice what's going on and know that this just isn't about a pivot. I mean, that word pivot, so overused.
Yes.
It's got people thinking, if I move 10 degrees, I've pivoted. That's not what today takes. Today means that you've got to do perhaps a total, 180 or even a full 360, turn this whole thing around and reimagine. You never have to give up your business, but sometimes you have to think about what you need to do differently. And you've got to discover that. You've got to discover what the gap is. I mean, even Henry Ford knew that it wasn't about doing a focus group and asking anymore. If he'd asked people what it is that they wanted, they probably would have said faster horses, right? He had to discover the gap in order to introduce something that people didn't even know that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
That next evolution and innovation of your business.
What's your process for a 35,000 foot view, like reflection? How often do you do it and how do you do it?
Well, first of all, I have multiple coaches, plus I belong to 2 separate masterminds. I believe that the most important thing I can invest in, and I'm on the 5th floor here, I've got a whole staff. I mean, I've got a lot of expenses, but the most important investment, not expense, but investment I need to
Yes.
make is in me. And, Diane, there's something to be said about investing and hanging around with people way smarter than you. I mean, I'm really clear in my life now that I sometimes write a check for speed.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
let me just, I mean, you're going to pay for it no matter what. You're going to pay
Yeah.
for success no matter what. And you
So
can take
true.
the long road trying to figure out everything like yourself, or you can define the people that have the through path, right? That can get you from point A to point B much faster in a much streamlined, more efficient, more cost effective way. I mean, the times that I've gone on the cheap and haven't done that, I know that I've paid more for it in the long haul, because it's not only the cost of the mistakes, but it's the time, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the one thing that we can spend but never buy back. And I have to tell you, I swear to you, there's never a day when I'm not up within the first hour, maybe 90 minutes, where I don't think I have 1,440 minutes today. I have the same amount of minutes that Beyonce has.
Yes.
What is Beyonce doing with her time that I'm not doing? Right? Who is she surrounding herself with that I'm not surrounding myself with? And it's not tit for tat. It's not a match. It's not her people or my people. It's the thinking of surrounding yourself with people way smarter than you. And I think women mistake their accountability buddy with their coach.
Yeah.
An accountability buddy is somebody that is there for you to report in that you did what you said you were going to do. But when we start to change that and start to get advice, right? And we go too deep, there's the difference between getting an opinion, right? And I always say opinions are like elbows, everybody's got 2.
Yeah.
But there's the difference for advice. And what I've learned is I'm not going to ask for advice from people who have never been where I want to go. Right? That's called a distraction.
Yes.
Right? That's called, why don't you get distracted going somewhere you have no business going, and is not the fastest path to cash.
Yes.
Right? So I've just really learned that I've got to invest in me. I've got to invest in my mindset, right? Because every time you grow to a next level, I'm going to be honest, I can get caught up in my own stinking thinking, like, who are you to think you could do this?
Yes,
right?
of course.
And I've also got to, I've got to develop skills, right? And I have to know the tools that are out there that will create great efficiencies that will save me time and boatloads of money, so that I can put that time and money into other things that are going to serve me so much better.
Such great advice. And I'm going to use this, Sandra, and quote you all the time. You're going to pay for it no matter what.
No matter what.
So true.
Yep. No matter what.
I say the same thing. I say around here, 1% better every day. Just be 1% better every day.
Yeah.
You are the greatest investment in this world. You have to know that. And you have to be growing.
Right.
You have to be growing.
Right. I mean, think about that. I mean, this is a cool example of how smart I think people are that really get this. There were 45 million people that quit their jobs in the year 2020 and 2021. Some people call it, the Great Resignation. I call it the Big Quit. The interesting thing about this statistic, though, Diane, is of the 45 million people that quit their jobs, 30% of them, 15 million, of the 45 million did so to become an entrepreneur. They did it specifically to start to build their own dream. And that's why the economy is in a place that we can't decide really what it's going through, because we're at 4% unemployment, which is low,
Very low.
like a 50-year low, close to a 50-year low. When it was 3.5%, they said it was a 50-year low. And yet we have sections of restaurants that are closed, even though the restaurants are open, because they can't find help. And it's because people have taken themselves out of the job market.
Yes.
Okay. Now they've done this. Why? Because they got laid off. They went and got their unemployment. Then the government gave them a $600 a week supplement. And some people got really mad about it. I'm like, good for them. Good for them. And the smart ones, the 15% of the 45 million, or the 30% of the 45 million, which is 15 million people, most of them, a good chunk of them, went and got educated and certified and invested. Some of these people were making more money on unemployment than they were making in their real job.
Oh, yeah.
And so they reinvested to retool, reskill themselves, right, to become an entrepreneur. I mean, in my almost quarter of a century of running eWomenNetwork, I have never seen, and I'm not sure I'll live long enough to ever see again, 15 million people coming into the small business job market.
Right.
You know what I mean? Entrepreneurial market, small business owner market. So what I keep telling people that are small business owners that service small business owners, have products and services for small business owners, you should be asking yourself, if you've got more than 20% room on your calendar to take on more customers, and you service the small business market, you need to be asking yourself, what am I missing?
Yes.
Because I don't know in my lifetime if you will ever see the infiltration of entrepreneurs,
Right.
coming to market that we have right now. You should be slammed. You should be streamlining your business model. You should be working on those dream packages that you've been thinking about it, that are higher dollar, that the people they're looking for you. They're looking for you. And if you've got availability, it's either the product and service you have is old, it's stale, it's got old languaging, people feel like it's irrelevant, or perhaps they just can't find you because it's so crowded. So you've got to find ways to invest in coming out with a new, different version of you. Tide didn't throw Tide away when they said new and improved, right? I mean, you don't have to change your entire business model, but you've got to find ways to do the things that matter most, to pay attention to what your customer is worrying about, what they're stressed about, what's keeping them up at night, who are their heroes and sheroes, what are they reading, how are they reading it, right? Where is it that they want to go? What are their aspirations? What are their dreams? What are they responsible for? And when you find that creates your buyer persona. And now you got to say, what is the language? What age are they? Where are they hanging out? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Are they doing reels? Are they doing posts? And then you have to show up where they're at. You can't think, I'm going to drag them into where I'm at. Business is moving too fast today. You can't do that. And you need to be investing in the future, right? So you need to be developing relationships now with the people who are going to become your customer in the next 5 to 10 years, so that you're creating what we call preference, where they start to prefer you because you're speaking their language, right? So you have to adapt your language based on the audience. But we do that all the time, Diane. If you are a Christian and you go to church, let's say, not everybody does, but for those that do, when you walk into church, you behave a certain way, right? Yeah. If you decide to meditate, if meditation is your choice, right? I know when I meditate, and I do both, go to church and meditate, guess what? I assume a certain set of behaviors to get really quiet, to still myself, to start focusing on my heartbeat, to really pay attention and listen, right? If you're going out with your girlfriends for a weekend, you tend to behave a certain way, right?
True.
I mean,
Yes.
when you're at the kitchen table with your children and you're asking about how the day at school went and what did they learn and who was their new best friend and people that they met and what did they have for lunch, you assume typically a separate set of behaviors. When you're with your lover and you're
Yeah.
behind closed doors, we're constantly adapting a set of behaviors based on where we're at. So this is nothing new. I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, Sandra, do I have to constantly change?" No, you have to constantly adapt to the environment that you're in, and you do it anyway.
Yes. So true. It's so true. Oh my gosh, there's so many golden nuggets in there. And every time, I hope everybody is enjoying this, because every time I hear Sandra speak, I have pages and pages and pages of notes that I
Yeah.
quote you. I swear they're in my book.
Well, we're just students, right? I mean, I'm taking crazy
Yeah.
notes when I go to my masterminds. I come back with what I feel like I could be like a transcript. People could pay me for, as I'm always writing things down and then thinking about, so what does it mean for me? How would I
Yes.
apply this?
Right. Right. Well, okay. So far, a couple of things I heard you say is that you rely heavily on your coaches and your masterminds, especially for those big, leaps, if you want to call them leaps, but
Sure.
where things are going, the direction, and leaning in, and no matter what's happening. What is it that you want people to know?
I mean, everybody talks about the journey of success, right?
Yeah.
But there really is, there are destination points. And I think it's important for us to take pause and to celebrate them. You have to celebrate the small wins and the big wins. But understand, ultimately, success is about, then saying, so now what next? I had a very dear friend, I didn't have the benefit of having a dad growing up. My father died tragically in a car accident on my 5th birthday before I ever had a chance to know him. But I feel like what happened was, and I lived a lot of my younger years kind of feeling left out. I was the only girl in my neighborhood who didn't have a dad. There was one other girl whose parents were divorced. And so, and then her father moved away in a different part of Ohio. So she got to see him every other weekend. But we had this like connection because we knew we were different, she and I. And we became friends. But what I can tell you is that I really believe that, God never intended to leave me out without great mentoring. And so he brought 2 phenomenal men in my life. And one of them was Ken Cragen, who is a Hollywood legend. At one particular time managed like, the top 8 of the top 10 recording artists ever, from Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton to the Bee Gees, Lionel Richie when he left the Commodores, and the list goes on and on and on. And but he taught me something. He and I became, I was speaking at an event and he was in the audience and I met him because I got there early and I wanted to find a place to sit and get a feel for the room. And there happened to be an empty seat next to him. He waved me over. We made a connection there. Talk about networking. And this man changed my life. And I was the one that was booked to be the speaker. He changed my life. And I will leave you with this. He said to me, Sandra, never forget that it's actually easier to do the impossible than it is to do the possible. He said, because everybody's doing the possible. Everybody's doing what's possible. It's so easy to reduce ourselves to being what he called a me too. Like me too are doing, I'm doing that too, right? Or an also ran. What he said was that if you really want to stand out, you want to do the impossible because that's where people aren't going. My mother phrased it differently. She used to say, Sandra, just remember the scenery only changes for the lead dog, right? And I've often thought, do I want to be sniffing butt and following everybody else, or do I want to be with the fresh air and the sky of opportunities kind of thing? And so Ken just always said to me, lean into, what's seemingly impossible. And I looked at him and I thought, this is a great guy who clearly believes this. He led the largest humanitarian effort humanitarian effort ever at the time in the history of the country called Hands Across America. It was his idea. He was the organizer, the idea guy and the organizer behind the We Are the World song with Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. It would have never have happened if it hadn't been for Ken Cragen, because he managed so many of these artists across the genre and could bring them all together. You know what I mean? And everybody told him it would never happen. And he just always said, the people that want to make new, fresh things happen surround themselves with other people that go, I love that.
Yes.
No one's done that before. I can help you. I've got an idea. And that's the group you want to hang out with, right? Those people that will believe in your big, hairy, audacious goals. You know that, the BHAG very well, right? And want to play a much bigger game. And it's important to just say, do your own people math. You know, who are the people you're hanging out with? Are they really adding and multiplying? Or are they dividing and subtracting? Or are they just not changing at all? And you got to make a choice. Who do you need to let go of in order to make space for new people to come into your life? Because I think if the universe knows that your hands are all tied up, taking care of all this crap doesn't matter, it knows they're not available to catch your next blessing, right? It knows that and will never bring people your way. And when you start verbalizing what your big dream is, then you start noticing solutions.
Yes.
You know, they just start appearing. It's like when my husband told me he wanted to buy this, he wanted a new car. He told me, what do you think about this car? I'm like, I've never seen the new car. I don't know. I've never seen that car. I have no idea what you're talking about. He says, yeah, Sandra, they're out. You know, I'm like, I've never noticed that car, Kim. I've never noticed that car. Then I get on the highway on Monday and suddenly they're everywhere. I'm going, oh, that car. And now I'm going, you want a car that everybody else has? I mean, you know what I'm saying? And I never noticed it until it was brought into my vision.
Right.
And so you have to be your own rescue. You can't wait for somebody to come in and rescue you. You have to go out there, set that vision, verbalize it. There'll be people that roll their eyes at you. Those aren't your people. Not all people are your people. Release them. And you will attract the ones that go, that's really cool. You're onto something here. And have you thought of this? And have you thought of that? And I know someone for that. And I know someone for this. And suddenly the universe conspires to make it so. And that's my big lesson.
That is so good. That is so good. Well, everybody now knows that. All right. So can I ask you a question? We ask all our guests. Can you please share with us how you live the I Have Today way, which is intentionally in the present moment? And can you start it with I have today too, and then fill in it?
Okay. I have today to focus on only the things that matter most. I make the decision. I make the choice every single day. And so I rule my business, a multi-million-dollar global business, by focusing on 3 things every day that either move the business forward or make the cash register ring. And if they don't do those things, then I don't do them. And my staff does the very same thing. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we get on a Slack call. Everybody at 9 a.m. has to share the top 3 things they're working on that move the business forward or make the cash register ring. And when you do that, you find you don't need a team to work overtime. You don't need to be working on weekends. You can have a completely loving, balanced life to spend time with the things that ultimately matter most, which I hope is your family, your friends, and that kind of thing. And this business doesn't have to consume you. You can run it to enjoy it, right? To make a difference in the planet, but you don't have to become overwhelmed. You know, you don't have to be overcome by overwhelm, I think is what I want to say, which is a lot like how small business owners live. And it just doesn't have to be that way.
Yes. Oh, so well said. 3 things. That's so good. That move the business forward or make the cash register ring. It could not be any simpler than that. I know this about you, and I know that you don't leave the day until those 3 things are done. You've shared that before. So true.
It keeps you out of all the stuff that distracts you. When you focus on, it doesn't mean you don't answer the phone or take a call or look at your email and all of that. But if you're really clear on the 3 things and you're committed to not go to bed before those 3 things are done, your life will change.
Yes. Yes. Beautifully said. All right, Sandra. Well, I understand that you have a gift for the audience too.
I do.
Yes.
I do. People ask me all the time. So, what is it that it takes to really, start from scratch? I bootstrapped my business, funded it all by myself, no outside investors, cash, that kind of thing. And I've come up with the 5 habits, right, that CEOs focus on in order to grow their business. So I've created a download that people can go get called the Top 5 Habits of CEOs.com. Top 5, the number 5, top 5 habits of CEOs.com. And you can go see literally, and it's the worksheets of how I run my business.
I'm getting that download. I hope everybody else is. We've got the URL up on the screen right now, and we will definitely have this in the show notes. Everybody, I would get this immediately. Well, Sandra, I could talk to you and listen to you all day. You're amazing.
Thank you,
Like
Diane.
I said, every time you say anything, it's just, well, first of all, so heartfelt. Second, you are so transparent and authentic in every way. I'm grateful that you are one of my mentors on this
you're so
journey.
sweet. Well, here's the thing I want everybody to know. You and I would have not made this connection, and I would not be on the show if you didn't practice so many of the things that I'm talking about. You showed up. We happened to be sitting next to each other, right, at an eWomenNetwork event.
I paid for that seat.
Okay. You wrote the check for speed.
I wrote the check for speed.
You didn't leave without saying, would you be on the show? I looked at you and said yes, and gave you the contact information to make it happen.
Yes,
we have thousands and thousands and thousands of members all over the world, but you showed up, you paid to have a seat at the table. We sat next to each other. I said yes to you. It's an honor to do that, by the way. You are a rock star. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. And that's how we find each other.
Yes.
So thank you.
Goosebumps and chills.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I received that, and I'm so grateful for your time and you coming to spend time here at I Have Today and inspire our audience of women in this world who are in the process of reinventing and living intentionally. And you just shared so many nuggets of wisdom for them to start implementing in their lives. So thank you again. Let's do it. Okay. All right.
Take care. All right.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She's simply amazing. Simply amazing. Just love her. Wow. Okay. Well, one of the things we do here is we want to inspire, empower, and educate you too. And maybe TV hosting. How would you like to have somebody like Sandra Yancey on your show? Well, I've got an opportunity where I have a free masterclass to teach you how you can launch and star in your own TV show and what it will do for your business, your brand, your credibility. Talk about raising the bar and setting yourself out to stand out. This is one of the best ways to do it. So take a look at this right now with more details about it. Hey there. Do you want to become a TV host and earn 5, 6, even 7 figures in your business, even if you have no experience? Listen, if you're a woman professional and entrepreneur and you help women solve a major life or business challenge with the work that you do, then this is for you. If that's not you, feel free to click skip. But if that is you, then pay very close attention because what I'm about to share in this video has the power to transform your life and your career. Hi, I'm Diane Forster. After 20 years at ABC TV and hosting my own TV show for the last 5 years, I've made millions of dollars in my career, won multiple awards, appear all over national media and big stages, all because I have a TV show. I'm not spending all day doing marketing strategies that just don't work. I'm using the power of one brilliant TV show to do the work for me, and I'm teaching my clients how to do it. Now, the strategy works so well, we've been able to quickly help women just like you launch their own brilliant TV shows, streamline their marketing efforts, and generate more income and impact. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to check out this presentation right now. Just click the link below under this video. You'll be taken to this sign-up page where you get a 24-hour pass to watch the presentation. Now take a look at Alexis Johnson. She was struggling with her marketing and in her business on how to effectively reach her right market. She put these strategies into place and launched her first show in just 30 days. Not only that, she generated $25,000 in revenue before she even launched. Now here's Megan Benson. She was also struggling with trying to be too many places and was getting nowhere. And she had no experience in TV at all. She followed the strategies, and her new game show, Get in the Game, is premiering on ABC in Santa Barbara. So again, click the link and go to the sign-up page for your 24-hour pass. Then sit down, get something to take notes with, and watch this masterclass, because this has the power to change your life. Now, it doesn't matter what niche you're in. You absolutely can and should have a TV show. This works for you, even if you have no experience, or you don't have a lot of time, or you don't even know how to start. You need to click this link now and learn how TV hosting can totally change your career and life. Click the link, sign up, and I'll see you there. All right, well, this is your chance to get the free masterclass while it's still up. It's tvstarhost.com, tvstarhost.com. Learn how TV hosting can change your business and your life. All right, we only have a couple minutes left, so let's get into our meditation. I'll make it a brief one today. If you're listening, if you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes. For everybody else, we're going to take in 2 deep breaths for the count of 4. We're going to hold it for the count of 8, and we're going to blow it out for the count of 8. And then I'm going to give you some very, very inspiring, empowering words to shift your vibration and frequency right now so you can have a better today. So here we go. Close those eyes. Ready? Breathe in for 4. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Blow it out for 8. Feels so good. Do it again. Breathe in for 4. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Blow it out for 8. Listen to the words. I have today to surround myself with incredibly successful women. I'm going to start today living differently than I ever have before, because I know now that success and failure are on the same side. Everything is a lesson. Everything is wisdom. There are no mistakes, and it is part of the journey. I am going to start riding the wave. I'm going to master the art of agility, like Sandra said, and know that I'm going to have a bigger thinking because of the people that I surround myself with. I'm going to be okay feeling uncomfortable. I'm going to be great with cutting a check and writing that check for speed, because here's what I now know. I'm going to pay for it no matter what. So do I want to waste my most precious commodity in this world, which is my time, because all I do have is today? Or I'm going to start believing in and moving in different thinking to realize I have the same 1,440 minutes as everybody else today, and I'm going to use them wisely. I'm going to practice Sandra's tips that she only does things every day that move her business forward or make the cash register ring. That's the way I'm living now. That I can ride through anything. There will always be things that come up, and it's okay to lean in and then lean out. Make the decision that way. Because like Sandra said, she never died from anything she tried. You won't either. You won't either. And I won't either. And so remember this, the final words, that it's easier to do the impossible than the possible. So from this day forward, from now on, starting today, that is going to be the intention in my life. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank my extraordinary guest, Sandra Yancey, who was here today. She was the founder and CEO of the eWomenNetwork, so accomplished. And she just had nugget after nugget after nugget, like she always does. So please subscribe to our show on YouTube or Facebook. You can catch us every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time live. And just search I Have Today with Diane Forster. And we'll see you next time. Take care. I love you, Medley. Bye-bye.